Hi, hello, welcome to today's video.
Hello.
Today's video is the highly requested birth story video.
Yes.
We've kind of done a part 1 to this video where we gave you a complete breakdown of everything that went down in my 3rd trimester of pregnancy. In case you haven't watched that video, let's do a really quick recap. Severely dehydrated, was taken to the ER.
I just recapped.
Let's do a really quick recap. No. I'm gonna cut all this, Gerry. You're wasting their time.
See, now I have the license to do dad jokes.
Can't with you. In case you missed that video, let's do a really quick recap without the dad joke. Severely dehydrated, taken to the ER a couple of times, went through a couple of instances without feeling any movement, any fetal movements, realized I was contracting without knowing it, was hoping to opt for a vaginal delivery the whole time, but was being presented with the possibility of needing a C-section based on all the various circumstances, and cut to the last day, which was 30th of December 2024, which is where we left off the last video, which was basically where I thought I was going in for a pre-op to just kind of have all that information on standby for backup as a worst case scenario option. And I was told by the lovely nurse, God bless her, that you look like you're in labor and you needed to be taken to the labor and delivery floor. And this is basically where all the hospital part chaos begins. So let's just dive right into it. Okay, so first things first, to set context, it's approximately 2 p.m. in the afternoon, 1 p.m., 2 p.m. in the afternoon at this point of time. I'm taken up to the labor and delivery. We've gone in to the hospital without hospital bags, without anything.
Nothing. I
mean, we had lunch plans.
Yeah, we had lunch plans at Taco Bell.
After the hospital visit, and turns out I was in labor.
It was just me, her, and our cousin Zoya.
Yeah, who's 17. So we clearly had no idea that we were going to go into birth at this point. I had started my 40th week. Come to think of it, we should have been better prepared. But one of the things was that both of us are 42-week babies. So the doctor kind of indicatively told me that there's a good chance I'm going to go all the way till 42 weeks.
But is that really true?
Apparently.
Okay, so here we are at the hospital, waiting at the reception. I don't know whether we covered this in the previous video or not. We were waiting at the reception. I was just filling out forms for her to be taken to the floor where they will do a pre-op check and stuff like that. Op check, whatever it's called, just a little bit. I mean, it was supposed to be a very quick in and out.
20-minute appointment.
Yeah, do a couple of tests, then get out, grab some Taco Bell, go home, chill. That was the entire plan. The lady at the reception, who was a nurse herself, took one look at her because Aanam was in some kind of a visible discomfort. Now, me and Zoya were kind of used to this discomfort.
I had been living in discomfort for a long time, but I was also sitting dilated for about 3.5 weeks. Yeah, 24 days.
Yeah, but more importantly, she wasn't feeling those contractions apart from the braxton hicks that would arrive like clockwork every evening.
I also want to say that to deal with those braxton hicks, I was doing everything I was being told to. I was doing assisted, unassisted, lunges, squats, yoga, stretches. There was a lot of stairs in my uncle and auntie's house. I was walking up and down the stairs sideways as much as I could. We would go to Central Park close by in the Fremont area, in that neighborhood, and do long walks around the lake.
Yeah.
I was doing literally duck walks. I was doing everything under the sun that I was being told to just kind of make this process smoother for me. Mind you, I was also, like I mentioned earlier, sitting dilated at about 1.5-2 centimeters that we know of for 3.5 weeks. The reason I say that we know of is because that was the last doctor's appointment where she said, okay, you've started dilating to all the way till birth.
Yeah, so here I was just filling out the forms. The nurse noticed her in obvious discomfort, and she actually first asked me, are you sure she's not in labor? So I took one look at Aanam and I went no, I don't think she's in labor. Then again she looked at Aanam, who was sitting quite a bit far away, and he was I think you guys need to go to the L&D just to be safe. Just get yourself checked out, and anyway the pre-op can happen there the same processes anyway. So just go. So we were like, okay, I mean, this is new. So Zoya and I took her to the L&D department.
They put me on a wheelchair.
Yeah.
I was like, I can walk. They were like, you are in
You know.
so much discomfort. We're going to put you on a wheelchair. And I kept insisting, let me walk, let me walk. And they were like, no.
No, and I had to push the wheelchair. I don't know whether Zoya caught that on video or photo or whatever. Anyway, by that time, we were a little worried. We weren't sure what was going on. We got into the L&D. They put her in a room. They hooked her up to monitors, different monitors, to figure out what's happening, checking whether she's actually in active labor or not, whether she's dilated or not, etc. Now, I think Aanam would probably be the better person to explain this, but the way they check the dilation is a little invasive.
It's very invasive. It's a cervical check is basically when they put their fingers into your vagina to check how dilated you are.
Yeah.
And mind you, that is an uncomfortable procedure for many. I'm very sensitive, so I was very, in any case, that was one part of pregnancy throughout the 9-10 months. My God, 40 weeks. I really, really hated. And while I was already in discomfort, it just made it even more painful. I want to describe the kind of pain I was in because I had a friend who recently asked me what kind of pain was it because we were discussing birth. She was like, oh, is it like period cramps? And I was like, it was period cramps times 1,000 for me. And I want to give you the disclaimer, not at any point of time through the course of this video, if I'm describing my pain, am I saying it to discourage anybody from experiencing this? I promise you, while it was the most painful thing I ever experienced, it was also the most beautiful thing I ever experienced. But having said that, my threshold of pain is like at a -100. I cannot handle physical pain. So in any case, to me, I was like, I had worked a lot on the mental part of how to deal with birth because naturally, physically, to main kar hi rahi thi. But I really wanted to be able to cope with it with affirmations, with being able to talk to myself, with being able to pray to myself, things that I knew were working for me. But for this first part of it, because I didn't know what was starting, what was happening, everything was happening so fast. There were nurses coming in and out. 2-3 different nurses were doing cervical checks on me. The main doctor had not really come at that time. I had not panicked, but in my head, I think I had forgotten everything that I had read and heard and learnt really through books and through YouTube videos. Like I remember making mental note of terms like inducing. What is inducing? They can do it through membrane this, they can do it through that injection, something called pitocin, literally everything. I just, at that point, I'm blank. And I was like, oh my God, like it took me a while to like find my footing, get my hands in the wheel and say, no, I know what is happening. I've read about this. I'm the kind of person who, if mentally prepared, can deal with, situations. But for that first part, I definitely was like just blindly following whatever I was being told till I could regain my sense of self.
Right. So she was just hooked onto the monitors. They were monitoring her vitals, baby's vitals, etc. And they started chatting with us about pre-op. They asked us why a C-section, etc. We said, I mean, we don't really have a choice. That's what the doctor had recommended to us. She said it's a possibility that you might have a C-section because of low water levels and the kind of discomfort that she has, etc.
Which I wanted to avoid at all costs. I understand that all births are painful irrespective of whatever. So there's definitely no looking down on either type of birth. I want to really, really categorically clarify that. But I know that, and basis of course hearing, learning, seeing people in my life from vaginal versus C-section births, vaginal births have a faster healing time, and because of that I really wanted to have a vaginal birth. Apart from the healing time, I also wanted to be able to experience that because I think I've heard about my mom talk about it, like how she went through so many hours of labor with my brother and me. Both her births for my brother and I were vaginal births, and in fact she took epidural in one and she didn't take epidural in the other. I wanted to go through those motions because I wanted to feel it that way. Having said that, I don't think either way is an easier way at any point of time. So I just want to clarify that and put that disclaimer forward.
Yeah, so the nurses were there. They were talking to us about, what happens when you actually go through a C-section, because I mean in reality for all purposes we were there for a pre-op check while she was getting monitored, etc. They could also see that she was in extreme discomfort, so they also threw in that option of induction. Now induction is something that even a doctor, even a gynecologist that we were consulting there had mentioned, but we opted out of it because Aanam was hell-bent upon just doing it the natural way, in the sense that when it's time, right? I mean, you don't have to rush it. Doctor said, okay, go get yourself pre-op done. You may not need a C-section later, but it's always good to know where you stand in terms of all your results, have this on record in case we have to do it. And the nurses kept telling us, I mean, they kept trying to tell us that, whatever happens, try not to do a C-section, because I think the couple of nurses also said even we've had C-sections and it takes a lot of time to recover, a lot of problems later and stuff like that. So unless it is dire, unless it's emergency, or try and avoid a C-section.
Which was aligned with what our goal also was. And mind you, the nurse team is the hospital team. The doctor who was giving us advice was an independent doctor.
Yeah.
So like we were also in a situation where we were like, this makes sense to what we want.
No one was recommending us for a C-section, but there was a possibility. Now the nurses here were saying that even though it's a possibility, it's try and avoid it as much as possible, just because that in the recovery time, I mean, it's not really, it's a major surgery at the end of the day.
And
right?
I also really appreciate the energy with which the nurses were coming and talking to me. Like, they weren't just like, oh, medical, tuck. They would sit, they would talk to you, they would ask you, what level of pain are you at? Okay, is this hurting? If I'm touching it here, is it hurting? Like, they were so, in fact, if I have to be really honest, the nurses I found more help from than the doctors that we dealt with over there. And I mean this in the most sincere way, because they would actually take time to understand the issue. Whereas I felt like the doctors were a little bit more in and out. I had one main doctor, and then because I had already been to the same hospital a couple of times for ER, a couple of the doctors there were familiar with my case. But I feel like the nurses truly took the time to understand everything on a human level and not just medical level. And I really appreciate the kind of advice they gave me. The nurse you're talking about who had a C-section, she had one C-section and one natural and one vaginal. I don't want to use the term natural because I feel like both are natural at the end of the day. But like the things she told me, and she was one of the nurses who was with me through my 22-hour labor, I feel like was some people just leave an impression on you, and she was definitely one of them who gave me a lot of really great advice. Anyway, so this is around 2:30 in the afternoon at this point of time, and through the many options presented to me, they said we can induce you further to move this along. What this will do is take you into active labor, which means obviously my discomfort was going to become a lot more discomfort, but I was going to become closer to birth as opposed to living in the mystery of just God knows when what. This could mean that I could go into active labor anytime up to the next 3 to 4 days. Which also was something I had my own question marks about, because I was like, does this mean I'll be superbly even more uncomfortable? And again, it could go up to 4 days and then I go into labor. But there were all these question marks on the nurses, and by now my doctor had come and she said, look, there's no way to determine what body reacts how. This is your best shot, considering how uncomfortable you are, considering you are dilated, considering I was just constantly in pain, horizontal, and not in the best state. And all the other issues.
Yeah, so this was something obviously we had to take a decision on. So Aanam and I took some time to discuss it. Another question that we had in our mind because of that, they said that, I mean, she could get into active labor anytime in the next 3-4 days. This was something that we had to figure out, because do we stay back in the hospital?
Or do we go home and then come back? Also, I didn't have my mom by my side. My mother had come to India because my nanny had been admitted. My nanny had passed away and my mom was away. And after my nanny passed away, she let about 8 days, 10 days, something pass. And she was like, I'm coming back. And we booked her the next flight back. And I was like, what if I land up delivering before my mom comes? Which fundamentally on a body level I was okay with, because I was in so much pain, but she was coming back to be there for her daughter. There were all these questions. One very big thing that I had also at that point of time, even if I was going to say yes to inducing me further, they had one option which was called moving the membranes, sweeping the membranes, and that was very invasive. Like, they take something that looks like a big earbud and they literally put it inside vaginally, and just the fact they were telling me this and showing me about the earbud, I was scared. I was like, no, I don't want to do anything. And then they said, okay, you're at the hospital, so the other option is that we give you an injection. Now, even though I have a very shitty physical pain threshold, injections don't scare me because I've had a very, very, I don't know if I've talked about this on the internet before, but I've had a very turbulent childhood health-wise. Like from age 0 to age 12, I suffered from dormant malaria. I used to live with 103, 104 fever. Injections were my way of life for that period. And so even though I have terrible physical threshold in general, injection ka dar mujhe nahi hai. That is the one blessing in disguise that those terrible years of my life health-wise strengthened me with. And the minute they said that, I think I was like, yes,
okay, so
I can do this.
Then we decided to just go for the induction. And obviously, we didn't have anything there, right? We didn't have an hospital bag. We didn't have nothing there. So we did check with the doctor and the nurses saying that do we go back home or do we stay here? So they recommended actually staying because she was so much in discomfort, because they wanted to continuously monitor her and stuff like that.
I was like, so.
Yeah, so I think she got induced around 4:30 p.m. That's when, just before that, I'd called Tasneem Chachi, who was at work. Tasneem Chachi dropped everything, rushed over to the hospital just to be with us. That's when I think Zoya and I decided to go back home, pack the hospital bag, now that we knew that we were going to stay there for the foreseeable future. So Zoya and I rushed back home. I got the hospital
No,
back.
you're forgetting one thing before you left. They offered me morphine.
Yeah, it was during that time.
Yeah, and I was in shock. I was like, morphine? Is that pregnancy and baby safe? It was such a 2-minute joke that went around the room. And the nurses were like, yeah, we wouldn't offer it to you otherwise. But yeah. So wait, did I take morphine and then did you go? Because my memory is a little bit up and down.
I think I went first to get the hospital back because she was induced, she was resting. I think her pain was kind of manageable by that time. I went and got the hospital back.
No, my pain started coming down after morphine. I think after my morphine effect was wearing off, you went and got it. Because I remember very clearly, my pain was, I was in so much pain and they offered me the morphine and it was you were next to me when they gave me the morphine. And then it was after my pain had started dying down, you and Zoya had gone to get the hospital bags. My hospital bag and the baby's hospital bag were packed and kept, but you didn't have a hospital bag ready. In fact, I wanted to film a what's in my hospital bag video at some point, but I was in so much pain I never got around to it. And if you want me to still film it in like a recap kind of way, I'm open to that. So let me know in the comments. No, so you were with me. I took the morphine and then you guys went somewhere.
Yeah,
in the middle
the details are a bit hazy, but I do remember me and Zoya rushing home, get the hospital bag packed and then rush back so that we have everything set up.
Morphine was quite an experience. I feel like I should tell you a little bit about that because I've obviously never taken morphine before in my life and I obviously didn't know it was pregnancy and baby safe. It threw me into a loop.
Aanam, do it again? He's not the what?
It threw me into a loop in a sense that I knew I was saying stuff, but I didn't know I was saying stuff.
Oh yeah, the fun part begins now. The kind of shit she talked. Am I allowed to say shit on your channel?
Yeah.
The kind of shit she talked. Oh man, I'll come to that. That's the good part. I think you guys need to stay tuned for that, right? Really good stuff. So anyway, I come back to the hospital bag, etc. She's kind of in and out of it, but she was manageable. Tasneem Chachi was there with her. And then we realized we do not have a crib. We do not have a place where the baby can sleep when the baby comes, when we take him home and stuff like that, right? We just didn't have it because we were also thinking, okay, we had a little bit of time. We'll go pick it up later. So what Khalid and I did then was rush to Target.
Yeah.
We rushed to Target. Target was the closest. So we rushed there, picked one up, which had a playpen crib. I quite liked it. So I just quickly picked that up, got it, put it in the dicky of the car. Then Khalid dropped me off back to the hospital when he took the trip back home and assembled it. All that.
All of this time, my morphine effect is still on. I have the Tasneem Chachi by my side. That woman has been with me not just through everything turbulent that happened in my third trimester, but especially at the hospital.
Yeah.
Literally, she has been with me like a rock. She did not leave me for a minute. And like, I don't think enough thank yous and gratitude in my entire lifetime are going to be enough for the way she has been by my side. I didn't have my mom next to me, but I felt like I had my mom next to me. That's how much care she took of me, and I'll never forget that.
Now I remember the morphine actually was given to her before I went to pick up the hospital bag because she was in discomfort. Because, coming back to the morphine, because that's when she spoke eloquently. That's when she said to the nurse, mind you, the nurse that she's never seen before, that yes, I will marry you.
I would like to clarify this point. I would like to clarify this point. One second. The nurse was taking off.
No.
One second.
No.
You're gonna think I actually told the nurse I would marry her.
Yeah, you did.
No, one second.
She told the nurse, I was standing right next to her. She told the nurse that yes, she will marry her.
Can I just clarify this?
And then, I mean, let me say everything, na? Yeah, so that happened. The nurse giggled and she walked off. I mean, Tasneem Chachi was there, Zoya was there, so yeah. And then I think in that phase, she looked at Zoya randomly just looks at Zoya and just like, Zoya, you're so pretty. So Zoya's like,
she is pretty.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I mean, she is. But Zoya's like, okay, yeah, thank you, I guess. So we all burst out laughing. So this is the second thing. The third thing was...
I reminded him I took morphine.
The third thing was that when she was in absolute pain, I think that was just the pain talking, there was morphine. I was hugging her, holding her like this. I think we have a very nice photo of that, but people don't know. During that photo, what was said to me? He told me, Gerry. And I thought she would go like, Gerry, thank you for being there. Gerry, thank you for holding me. Gerry, I'm in so much pain. I thought, something nice like that, so that I can just pat her down. So I felt like she was, Gerry, I hate you. I absolutely hate you. I was still holding her like this. I'm like, okay. I mean, am I supposed to leave? Not leave? What do I do?
Okay.
But I held on. One second.
I agree with that.
But I held on. That was number 3.
Sorry, I didn't mean
Number 4. Number 4 was, what else did he say?
I just want to go back to the nurse thing.
No. Yeah. So she was in pain, obviously, right? The morphine was yet to kick in, or the morphine wasn't doing much, etc. She was in so much pain. She actually thought she was going to die.
No, this was much later. This I remember.
Yeah, everything else also you remember.
No, I would like to clarify, if you will let me speak, sir.
Okay, we'll come to the dying wala bit later.
At the dying wala bit was the next morning. I remember the dying wala bit because I remember exactly what happened in my monjolika period, as I call it, those 3 hours. We'll come to that, but I would like to clarify. I didn't tell the nurse I would marry her. What I said was, she was taking my ring off and then she had put it back on because she was checking veins, IV, And I remember when she was putting it back on, while she was putting my ring back on, I looked at Gerry and I said, yes, I will marry you all over again.
No one saw it. There were 5 people in the room. No one else saw it.
Because people were listening to what I was saying, not watching what I was saying. I was looking at Gerry and anyway, inconsequential to the birth, Gerry. We are digressing into random...
But Aanam on morphine is a vibe.
You make it sound like I take morphine all the time. Zindagi mein ek baar mere ko morphine.
That was enough. I mean, अगर आगे कभी खुदा ना खास्ता ना हो, but अगर कभी हुआ, then I'm gonna film. I'm gonna have a camera rolling throughout.
One second, can we go back to the birth before you go into all of that? While all of these guys are making fun of my morphine things, fine, my pain is finally coming down. Somewhere in the middle of this, he's gone. He's got the hospital bag, he's gone again, he's got the crib. My pain has come down to a manageable amount, I will say. They didn't give me morphine again. They only gave me morphine, a strong dose, that one time. One of the things that really helped in me being able to go through with the contractions. My contractions I could feel and everything was happening, and at this point they were still like maybe 10-12 minutes apart or something like that.
It was progressing.
It was progressing, but it was still a little bit thoda gap mein. The good thing was I had found a rhythm in the way I was moving my hips. That was really helping me maintain my calm. One of the other things that was really helping me maintain my calm, apart from Tasneem Chachi's like, you can do it, encouragement and her words, was I had read this book that I think I've talked about earlier called Mindful Birthing. If you're pregnant or if you choose to get pregnant, when you get pregnant, that's a book that I would highly encourage for everyone to read. I will even leave it linked for you down below in the description section if you like. There is no sponsorship from the author. I don't even remember the name of the author for that matter. I just remember she's a nurse who also, by the way, is based in California, I realized while reading the book, who talks about how mindfully you can live through the experience of your labor. Small things like focus on enjoying the gaps between contractions, and while you're contracting, focus singularly, visually or physically on one thing that keeps you grounded. Just little things. And that really truly helped me. Helped me for the most part. I'm going to say that it helped me 90%, except for the 10% monjolika phase, which we will come to.
So anyway,
first night.
Yeah, no. So just before the first night, I think you're forgetting one very important thing, which is basically while her pregnancy, or I don't know, should I call it pregnancy? Contractions, right? Or labor. Labor was progressing. It wasn't progressing enough.
Yeah.
So they took a decision to give her a second dose of induction at around 9:30 p.m.
They did?
Yeah, they did. I have everything written down. So they gave her a second dose of induction at around 9:30 p.m. Around about that time, I mean, we figured ki chalo, we have time because it's not progressing as much, etc., etc. So madam decides to have pizza for dinner, right? So I think Domino's, was it?
Dude, they have this garlic mozzarella pizza, over there, and they were like, what do you want for dinner? And I was like, the only thing I can think of is that garlic mozzarella pizza. Mind you, my last main meal before coming to the hospital and everything, a night before, was the boiling crab. And it was a Sunday night, so we waited for like 2.5 hours, and it was one of...
Are you drooling?
It was one of the best meals I'd had, and so I needed to like have something really yum because I was like going through all of this entire day in like pain. We hadn't had lunch. I wanted to go have a Dorito Supreme taco with refried beans instead of meat and cheese.
Okay, while she's thinking about the menu of Taco Bell and Domino's, so this is exactly what had happened.
Baja Blast.
Baja Blast. Tasneem Chachi had to obviously go back home to pick up her stuff because we were all staying the night with her, right? So when she was on her way back, she picked up the Domino's pizza for her. They got a pizza. I still have pictures. I don't know.
I think, yeah. I'll insert whatever I can through the course of this video.
Yeah, so we'll insert a couple of pictures of her enjoying her pizza and stuff like that. So, and then the second dose of injection was given because it wasn't progressing as fast or as much as they were expecting.
This is when shit got really real, and I'll tell you why. Because after that second dose, I remember this a little bit vaguely. I had the dinner, and Tasneem Chachi told him that go home, get a night's sleep, because I'm not likely to deliver that night. So at least he's a little bit well rested. So Khalid, Zoya, him went home. Tasneem Chachi was with me, and literally within a half an hour of them leaving, shit got like really serious in a way that my contractions were harder than ever before. They were coming a lot faster as well. And apart from coming a lot faster, there was a lot of intensity in the way I was feeling them. A lot of my friends who haven't had babies are like, what do contractions feel like? Is it like period cramps? This, that. Honestly, it's like, can I be like really descriptive about this without trying to scare anyone off? For me, it felt like
whatever warnings that you need to give.
Yeah, please, I'm giving you my experience. Not everybody's is the same. I was honestly feeling like someone had put so much pressure on my vagina. My whole body from the inside was vibrating with that at the core. And it was just extremely tense. It was extremely painful, and it was just feeling like the relief I was getting every time a contraction ended was what I was trying to focus on. That's what worked for me. And then every time it would end, I would be like, okay, it's done, it's okay. You don't think about how much time is going to come, and now just this is the moment. You know what I mean? And swinging my hips was giving me life at that point of time. But it got so serious that barely within an hour or so after he left, I called him and I was like, come back. I don't know whether I don't know even if I deliver tomorrow, and even if you're going to be with me tomorrow, I want you next to me, because I was feeling like I needed him. Even though Tasneem Chachi was amazing, and I remember she gave me the filmy dialogue of मुझ में क्या कमी है कि तुम्हें जेरी को वापस बुलाना है, उसको सोने दो. But I was like,
I had just gotten into bed, if I'm not mistaken.
No, you were on the couch.
No, I was in bed. I had just gotten into bed when I received the call, come back. So a long night. What we thought was could have been a relatively peaceful night. Quickly changed out of my pajamas again, and Tasneem Chachi wanted some coffee because it was shaping up to be a now. And the next day was supposed to be a long day, which is why...
I mean, next day or next days, we had no definitive timing on it.
Yeah, so which is why I decided to go home in the first place anyway, right? So I just got into bed when I received the call, quickly changed out. Khalid dropped me off. Khalid was sleeping, poor chap. I had to wake him up to get him to drop me off at the hospital, stopped at a gas station, picked up a couple of coffees for Tasneem Chachi, quickly went back, and she wasn't doing pretty well.
So this is where I was in a lot of pain, and I remember very clearly thinking, okay, can I get epidural? Because epidural was one of the things that I told myself I was going to take a call on whether I was going to take epidural or not take epidural based on how I'm feeling at that time. And at this point, I was in so much pain that I said, if I'm eligible for epidural right now, because I think for epidural, you have to wait till you're about 5 centimeters dilated or whatever. I was like, you're checking my cervix, I'm getting checked every half an hour. Anyway, I was like, am I dilated enough to be eligible to get epidural? And they were like, yes. I was so relieved to hear that because, and I'll tell you how it played out. I said yes. The nurse called, paged, whatever, the people. And while that was happening, I had just sat down on the bed in between contractions. A lot of the swinging hip, that was obviously with me standing, leaning, all of that. Suddenly at this point, I start feeling this sensation like I really need to pee. And Tasneem Chachi is like, sit down, listen, you need the rest between contractions, there's a gap. And I'm like, I need to pee. I think she realized, because she's a mom of 2, what was happening. She was like, it's okay, just sit. And I was like, no, you don't understand, I need to pee. If I don't get up and go to the loo, I'm going to pee right here. And she was like, just sit, relax. Even the nurses were like, relax, you're fine. Like, they were all managing me, and I could tell that they were managing me, but I'm like, why the hell are people managing me and not letting me go pee, was what I had going on in my head. And before I knew it, there was an explosion, and I couldn't hold it. I couldn't stop it. Now, one of the things that we had heard about, read about, discussed was the difference between knowing pee and when your water breaks is that your pee you can control. You know what I mean? Like, you can hold it back. You can hold it back, as opposed to if your water is breaking, you can't hold that back. There's no control. There's no pelvic control over that. And while it happened, I remember looking, was it your face or Tasneem Chachi's face? And I had realized what had happened. And they were like, your water is broken.
They confirmed it, yeah.
While my water was breaking, the anesthetic. The anesthesiologist.
Anyway, the guy with the needle.
Gives you the epidural. The doctor who gives you the epidural comes in and obviously realizes, okay, her water's broken. He said, it's okay, hold on, clean up. I'll come back in like 5-7 minutes. I'm being helped, just kind of maneuvered around, being made to lie down. And then the doctor comes in. 1:02 a.m. I remember this for some reason so clearly. You have it?
I will confirm.
Yeah, it was 1:02, 1:03. What is it?
Yes. 1:03 a.m. exactly. The water broke.
And what time was I given epidural?
1:30 epidural was given.
Between this, I have a cervical check. I'm so proud of you for keeping this in your notes. Wow.
Thank you. But it wasn't like, I mean, don't worry, it wasn't like, I mean, she was going through all of that and I was busy taking notes. I mean,
it was on the whiteboard, wasn't it?
No, it wasn't on the whiteboards. They were feeding everything into the computer, keeping track of the time, etc. I merely just copied from there. Most of it.
And what was really great about this, what's the word? Anesthesia anesthesiologist, question mark, who gives you, the doctor who gave me the epidural.
The guy with the needle.
What was really great about him was that I had heard about all these things where if you don't sit still, it can go wrong, if you have to sit absolutely like a statue and this and that. And this doctor was not telling me any of that. He just told me to turn, face my aunt who is next to me. He said, just curl your back up a little bit like a shrimp as much as you can. I've eaten enough shrimps in my life to know how to curl myself up like a shrimp. And he didn't say like, oh, stay statue, this, everything that I had seen online. Because in my head, epidural was really like a scary thing, even though like I'm not scared of needles. It was a needle that I was, based on what I'd seen online, had some inhibitions and fears of. I didn't really see the needle, but I glanced and it was a big needle. Epidural needles are supposed to be super big apparently. And it was. And I turned and he said, okay, before he puts the epidural in, he's going to just kind of numb that area. So I got 2 injections, and what was really great, and I feel like I didn't know this about it, he didn't just give me the epidural in one shot and I wasn't done with it. They left a back catheter on, and there was a wire hooked into the IV, which is like a epidural IV, let's call it. And there was a little button on it. Now on that button, if the light was blinking, I could give myself another dose of the epidural. And if it was not blinking and I pressed it, it wouldn't give myself a dose. So there was some time constraint every 90 minutes or something like that. I don't remember exactly what it was. A lot of these fine-tuned details I don't remember because so much was happening at the same time. And as of like in present day, our son is almost 100 days old. So it's been almost 100 days since, all of this, which is why some details are a little bit hazy. But all in all, the epidural experience was not terrifying in the least. If anything, the relief I got after the epidural for a little bit was great because the pain that I was experiencing had considerably subsided after. I want to talk about the one thing that people don't talk about while getting epidural, after getting epidural. The image that was painted to me was that after epidural, the next batch of pain, the tough thing in labor, is the pushing exercise, which usually I think you go through one long batch of pushing, which is an hour, couple of hours, whatever, when your baby comes out. First of all, I had 2 long batches. We'll get to that in a second. But I don't know why. In all the videos, research, reading I had done, nobody was talking about the pressure. And I just want to say that for me, and I've asked a couple of my mom friends this, nobody else seems to have had it that bad. My experience on rectal pressure as the contractions kept coming back was terrible. So how it started out was, once the epidural was in, I couldn't feel the contractions anymore. They tell you because you're hooked to a machine. But gradually, as they got more intense, because you can see it on the graph, right, that this is an intense contraction, I couldn't feel it like a contraction, but I started to feel more and more pressure towards my backside, my rectum. Now, apparently one of the things that the nurses said to me was because the baby is naturally going all the way down and it obviously presses your intestines, and it's a natural, like, it makes sense when someone explains it to you, but nobody had talked about it. So I was not mentally prepared for this at all. Okay.
No, sorry. Very quickly interjecting here. Another thing that to keep in mind was, since she was hooked up to the monitors, since she had an epidural and that little tube where she could control
the catheter,
she couldn't get off the bed.
I was no more allowed. The thing that was giving me relief all this time, like I mentioned, standing up, leaning, hips, swinging. I even tried the ball at some point in time, which I didn't really like much, to be honest. Now I was tied down, like not literally tied down, but now I was joined to the bed, because now with epidural you lose a lot of sensation in your legs, hips down. So I was like, wait, now I feel like I can't do all the things that were helping me all this time. Then because I'm in rectal pain and I'm lying flat on my butt, the pain is feeling even more intense. Moving to the sides helped me a little bit in this phase. Somewhere in the middle of this phase, at around 2-3, your notes reminded me that I was also given a catheter. This is not the catheter which is the epidural catheter. This is your P catheter. Now, I was really scared about getting a P catheter. This is going to sound so stupid because I'm not injection scared, but I was catheter scared. Just the idea of a pipe going in was a little bit scary to me. But when they did it, I felt stupid for being scared about it because it was like the least of my concerns considering everything else. There was no physical pain. There was a little bit of discomfort, obviously, when they were putting it in. But then you forget about it. You can't feel it anymore because there's so many other things going through your body that your body forgets about the catheter, I think.
So when all this was happening, she was also given periodical cervical checks to see how much she was dilating, etc. So I do have the times and the timeline, so to
You
speak.
really copied the hell
So
out of that.
between her water breaking and an epidural given, she was given a cervical check, which I think she was about 3 to 4 centimeters dilated. Then they
It
put
can't
it.
have been 3 to 4 centimeters dilated because it needed to be minimum 5 for the epidural.
No, you were 3 to 4 centimeters
Then
dilated.
how did they give me the epidural
I
at
don't know,
only
maybe
3?
it was fine. I mean, this can't be wrong because
You copied it.
I copied it. Fine. I worked
It's okay, it's not an exam. Why are you like...
hard for it. Anyway, epidural was given, catheter was put around, I think 1:50 a.m. This is all a.m., right? And then 1:51, there was another cervical check where she was 4 to 5 centimeters
least
dilated.
favorite part of it.
Where she was 4 to 5 centimeters dilated. So she was progressing, so to speak, in terms of dilation, but her discomfort also kicked in because of that rectal pressure and whatever she was talking about.
Yeah. Also, in the middle of all this, the baby's heart rate.
Yeah, so that was the most terrifying part of that. I think now shit got really, really serious, right? Now it was just about her, how she was managing pain, how she was trying to overcome it, etc. She was doing her best. I mean, we all could see, we were around here for her, etc. Then obviously she's continuously, monitored, right? Her contractions were monitored, etc. And one of the nurses noticed that this was around 2 a.m. I have the exact time, around 2 a.m. She noticed that the baby's heart rate dropped every time she got a contraction. And she kept an eye on it. She wasn't too pleased about it, but she wasn't also not too worried about it at that point in time. But she said, I'm going to monitor this. And obviously, whatever was replicated in the monitor in our room, it was also replicated on a nurse station back in wherever she used to sit. It wasn't like she was stationed in a room itself. And she let us know that the baby's heart rate was dropping whenever she got in contraction. And whenever she didn't have a contraction, baby's heart rate used to stabilize. Yeah. So that was something they had kept an eye on. They were keeping an eye on because it could turn out to be something serious, right? This was around, let me
check the exact time from your board.
This is around 2:05. They kept checking it from 2:05 to 2:20, which is when they took a decision. I mean, obviously we knew about it, but we didn't know what to do about it. It was worrying for us. We didn't know exactly what was going on, what was going to happen, etc. Around 2:20 a.m., I'm pretty sure they called up the doctor, they checked, etc. Around 2:20 a.m., they decided to put Aanam on oxygen, right? Just to stabilize baby's heart and also to calm her down in terms of her whatever she was feeling.
I think for me, I was like in pain and I was managing everything. But the minute they started talking about the baby stats going off, those were real. Like those fears were feeling bigger than my pain fears at that point of time. Because naturally you're thinking of your unborn child at this point and you can manage as an adult who's understanding. But this baby had lodged himself on my right side throughout my pregnancy. Every scan of mine, Raphael was on my right side and it just seemed like he didn't want to move. So even there, even literally all through labor, he was just on that side and he wasn't moving down at the speed that they wanted him to move down. So there were so many variables which were obviously out of anyone's control. And that sweet nurse kept telling me, you've made it such a nice home for him. He's so comfortable. And I would just smile back at her. But in my head, I was like, this child needs to come out.
Okay, so along with the oxygen, what they also did was they gave her an injection to stop the contractions, to stabilize the baby's heartbeat. That was very important because they couldn't really figure out how to fix it, right?
And mind you, this is ulta of everything they've been working on
with her
until now.
With her contraction, if the baby's heart rate is dropping, they really can't do anything other than stop the contractions, give Aanam a little break, put Aanam on oxygen to stabilize baby's heartbeat, and then maybe, let nature takes its course.
At some point over here, I remember I got a couple of hours of sleep, I think.
Yeah.
And
no, so I'll tell you again. I have the exact time. 2:20 a.m. baby's heart rate stabilized. They checked the monitor, etc. They removed the oxygen, and this is when Aanam dozed off because, mind you, she was still on the medication. The medication was still on to stop the contractions. She wasn't really contracting right then and there. right? She dozed off.
I don't remember this much.
Yeah.
Like, it's all very hazy to me, this portion of the night, because I just remember dozing off, and I remember the real shit getting real at about 5 a.m., 6 a.m., whatever it was. That is very clear to me.
So 4:30 a.m. they did another cervix check. She was dilated slightly more. Unfortunately, I do not have the exact number. But they also noticed that heart rate was still dropping, right? Now, this was extremely worrying because they didn't know whether how safe, let's say, vaginal birth now is going to be for the baby. So they hadn't told us this then. They told this much later after delivery. They had started prepping the op room for a C-section, just in case. In an emergency, obviously, if the baby's heart rate continued dropping during contractions, in order to save the baby, probably would need to do a C-section. So they had started prepping the operating room in the back room somewhere, whatever. They hadn't told us this. Now, this is when Aanam decides to go into monjolika.
One second. Can you not say it like Aanam decides to go into monjolika mode? I'm sorry, I'm going through labor, giving birth to your child, and you're going to say I decided to go into monjolika mode? What an absolute bum. Okay, I want to lead you through this part of it, because he's going to add like she decided to go into monjolika mode. I want to tell you.
Okay, she didn't decide. She stepped into her monjolika.
Jeez, thanks.
She unleashed herself.
Can I just tell them what really happened without you making this funny? Your wife thought she was dying and you think it's funny?
This is when the dying part comes in. From earlier in the video.
One second. I need to tell you what happened, okay? So I woke up at some point, and now when I have woken up, if I thought my rectum pressure was crazy the night before, it's now times 10,000. At this point, I'm again still not allowed to stand up, go anywhere because of the epidural and all of that. I'm on my side. I'm swinging my hips while horizontal, which is really not an easy thing to do, flat and side, trying to find positions with which I'm getting any kind of relief, okay? And when I tell you any kind of relief, the relief that I was getting earlier in the night, I'm not getting that relief at all. Now I can feel, I know what the contractions are, because even though I'm pressing that button and giving myself an added dose of epidural, the pressure is so high that I know it's a contraction. So I'm talking to the nurses in the state that I'm in. I've got Gerry by my side. I've got the scheme chachi by my side. This army of nurses who are all amazing. There were like 3-4 nurses on standby all the time. And they are very clearly telling me that you will feel the pressure. The epidural can only deal with pain, not pressure. And mind you, the pressure is so high, it feels like fucking pain. Like there's no other way to say it. Like it was, I don't know what the pain would have been like if I had not taken the epidural, but my god, the pressure was so high that I didn't feel like I had taken epidural. Again, disclaimer coming from someone whose pain threshold is like in the basement. It's negligible. And at this point, I don't know where, what, how, I can hear myself saying, just cut me open and get the baby out, because I think I'm going to die. And in my head, I don't want the baby to die. So I'm like, if I'm going to die, at least get the baby out. That's the frame of mind I was in. And now my friends have laughed at this. So I'm going to say this at the cost of sounding like a complete joker on the internet. मेरे दिमाग में क्या बात आ रही है? कम से कम टीना तो 8 खत लिख के गई थी अपने बच्चे के लिए. मैं तो वो भी नहीं कर पाऊंगी. My child is going to have to get to know me through my vlogs. Because I'm in so much pain, and I remember so clearly. I remember
Bollywood forever, even at that time.
I remember so clearly. Listen, it sounds funny, but if anyone over here who has given birth is watching, they will understand the pain I was in. I remember holding him, pulling him close, and begging, please help me end this pain. I remember being like, just get the baby out. I remember saying, and I remember this, the reason I remember this is because it's not like morphine मुझे कुछ दिया गया था and मैं loopy थी. I was so awake and alive because of the pain. I remember telling the nurse, can you have the doctor vacuum suction the baby out, because I'm scared it's going to die and I'm going to die with it. Or like and mind you, 1 second, we missed one very fundamental detail from the previous night. While I was in pain the previous night, this and that, it was 1st of Jan in India. Because it was 1st of Jan in India, our beauty brand, Verified, was running a 1st of Jan annual sale that we do. So while I was in contractions and this and that, I still was in my senses enough to coordinate, hey, the banner's not gone live. I was discussing what Instagram post needs to go live as a collab post to make sure that the sale content goes live. This is all while I'm in labor.
And be patient. There's some voices that need to be cleared, which she was supposed to bump up, but then she didn't do it one day in their time. So those invoices will now get processed.
Okay.
And I'm back to life. Go home, sleep. I got this in charging.
In between contractions, even during contractions.
I think we have videos of the Tasneem Chachi
freaking out. She was like, "Can you stop working? You're in labor."
She was giving me, Aanam was giving me instructions, etc. This was still the previous
I
night.
was applying lip oil. So where I'm coming from is that the pain the previous night was intense, but somehow still manageable.
What's next in the...
So when Raph sees me for the first time, Raphael baby, I'll be hopefully pretty mama for him.
For that to go to the other extent of me thinking that I was gonna die, and I don't mean this as a joke, I promise you, I was like, this is how I go.
Yeah, she wasn't joking because she actually really thought, she isn't even exaggerating. She really thought she's gonna die so much that she caught hold of my shirt, she pulled me close, and she was trying to tell me where all the important folders in her laptop was. Which folder had insurance papers, which folder had house papers, where are the financial documents kept,
all in Bombay.
with the passport and stuff like, but not passports, what am I saying? Passwords, passwords for a bank accounts, everything. She was giving me all the details and letting me know where everything was
I cannot
kept.
stress enough.
Now,
I really thought I was gonna go. And I'm looking at this guy and I know he's not registering shit of what I'm telling him.
You thought I was registering?
You just kept
I was
going,
because I didn't know what to say. I couldn't ask him to shut up.
So can you imagine if I had really died, you wouldn't have registered anything?
Yeah, I wasn't thinking about that. I was just trying to kind of keep you calm and not laugh.
And not laugh.
Because Tasneem Chachi was laughing in the background.
She was?
Yes, of course. She was taking a video of you telling me all of this.
Can I tell you, I have all this footage.
No, you know what? While
and I've never gone through it till today.
While I obviously cannot go through the pain or feel what she was feeling because, different biology and stuff like that, I still obviously, the thought had never crossed my mind that, she's actually gonna die or she was actually thinking of dying.
तो मैं बकवास कर रही थी.
Clearly. It was at that point in time.
I'm not doing bakwas. You want me to die to prove to you.
At that point in time, all I was trying to do was kind of keep her calm and just go along with the flow, let her rant, let her vent, let her do whatever that she needs to do to just get it out of the system. And clearly one of the things that she wanted to get out of the system was let me know where all the important things were kept. So all of this was going on.
All of this is happening. All of this is going on. And somewhere in the middle of this, they give me my first attempts at pushing.
Yeah.
My first attempts at pushing are happening around the 6:30, 7:30 mark in the morning. I have a clock right in front of me and I remember asking the nurse, where's my doctor? Now, just for the sake of this video, let's say her name was Dr. Chashmawala. I was like, where's Dr. Chashmawala? And they're like, oh, 10 minutes. And I was like, okay, cool. So 10 minutes later and I'm still pushing and they're like, Dr. Chashmawala is not here yet. And at this point, I'm losing my mind. I'm like, where's Chashmawala? If my baby comes out, they were like, oh, if your baby comes out, we're not allowed to catch the baby. Because we're not nurses aren't allowed to be the ones who, retrieve the child. And I'm like, what do you mean? So they're like, the doctor has to be here. So I'm like, so where is Chashmawala? At this point, I've become Batamiz because I'm like, I'm not even saying Dr. Chashmawala. I'm just saying Chashmawala because I'm losing my mind in pain. This is my monjolika phase. I'm still pushing. They keep telling me 10 minutes and eventually I tell the nurse the clock is right there. I've been mapping the time. I'm a very punctual person, even if I'm in labor. And then some hour later, Dr. Chashmawala appears. And they're like, oh, she's pushing, all of that's fine, but, she's going through this. And I can hear the nurses telling the doctor that, she's in pain and she's like, cut me open or I'm going to die and all of that. Some lovely nurse. It wasn't that main nurse who was with me, because their shifts change every 8-10 hours, whatever. This other lovely nurse, whoever's idea it was, is telling the doctor about how I need sleep and how I need to, kind of begin
Reset, yeah.
Reset, yeah. And
I mean, imagine this. Aanam had managed to freak out practiced medical professionals.
I was like, why do you make it sound like I planned it? I was in pain.
That's what I'm trying to tell them, that she was in so much pain that she managed to freak out practiced medical professionals. That's how bad it was. That's how bad it got to be. That's how monjolika Aanam actually was. So like she said, I mean, yeah, I was there obviously throughout the entire thing. During all of this, she'd caught hold of me at least 3-4 times by my shirt, pulled me closer. She was clawing my chest and she was like as if she wanted to kill me, right?
Gerry, I was in pain.
You were in what?
I was in pain. You're making me sound like a tiger. Like I'm coming to attack you.
Yeah, but I'm not debating that you're in pain. I'm telling them what had happened. The nurses had to physically restrain her a couple of times, correct me if I'm wrong, and tell her, 2 times at least, and catch hold of her, tell her, please let him go. Do not hurt him. You need him to change the diaper.
That's when I left him.
Yeah, for the first time.
I remember this. And it was the same lovely nurse who has now a special place in my heart, and she was amazing. And 3 days later, when we were getting discharged from the hospital, she was the one who was like, I've been a nurse for 35 years, but I will always remember your birth. And I was like,
so anyway, so all of this had happened, and she convinced the doctor actually to give Aanam a break, a rest. And it was very important for her physically as well as, more importantly, mentally. Because mentally, I think Aanam had gone, right? She was just done.
I'm so grateful with the idea that they decided to give me that reset, because it was like they were reformatting my hard disk. Because I think I slept for like an hour, maybe. Not like I slept much.
No, you slept for a little more than an hour.
I mean, roughly. 4-5 ghante
Which she
so
needed.
duty thi.
So this is Aanam sleeping off the medication. So we came here for a pre-op, but the receptionist at the billing counter noticed that Aanam was in some discomfort. She is dilated, but not as much as it's required to get into active labor. So they've given us some medication for her to help sleep, which she clearly is not doing. You need it, yeah.
When I woke up, I felt like me all over again. I felt like me for the first time in this process of, in fact, I think I felt like me for the first time through my entire 3rd trimester. I felt like, okay, I've got this. And suddenly, and you can agree or disagree with me, I went back into my affirmations. I went back into my zen. I went back into, okay, I can't swing my hips. What can I do? You know what I mean? Like, I remember at one point of time, I was on my side and he was holding my leg up, and that was helping me swing my hips, something I hadn't tried all this time.
This was during the pushing phase, because you weren't very comfortable during the first pushing. During a monjolika period, she wasn't very comfortable on her back.
They put me in stirrups, the legs in stirrups, and that was really an unpleasant experience for me because it was hurting me even more. Also, I have a bad ankle. My left ankle is a bad ankle from an accident in 2019. So the fact that it was in this angle where I was feeling pressure at all these odd spots was just not adding up in my head.
Plus the pain, plus her mental state, nothing helped,
anyway,
right?
Because I had reset, I was in a space where I was willing to try other things.
Yeah.
I had gone back into a space where I think I could manage things. I remember in that space thanking the nurse and saying, okay, it's good that you guys didn't just cut me up when I said to cut me up. But I will be honest and say, in that monjolika phase, I was feeling helpless. I was feeling like the walls were closing in on me. I was feeling like, why is everybody looking at me like I'm crazy? I feel like I'm dying. I don't think, I mean, I can say it laughing in hindsight, ha ha ha, she thought she was crazy, she was dying. खत भी नहीं लिखे. But I thought I couldn't manage. I genuinely just couldn't manage the
she
pain.
couldn't.
And even when I think about it now, it makes me feel like that is the single most painful period of my entire life. Because I thought this is how I go, and the fact that I could reset and give myself that time to be like, I'm just glad they could knock me off to sleep in the middle of this and be like, this girl needs sleep.
I mean, the more we tried telling her that, obviously she was pushing back because she wasn't registering anything. The pain was so bad.
Okay,
so we are all very grateful that she was given a reset. She was allowed to sleep. She was given that little break, because that helped a lot.
It helped a lot, and I will tell you, it's what got me through the next phase of pushing, right? Because I had a few hours of these contractions again. And when the next batch of pushing happened again, I didn't have the doctor by my side. The doctor, now I was assured, was inside the hospital, but would only come when the baby was really close, which is again a system that I just can't wrap my head around. I believe it's the same the world over. But I was like, just for the sake of emotional and mental comfort, I was wishing the doctor would be there throughout. Either way, when I was pushing this time, the time that I actually delivered Raphael, they had to give me oxygen again because I got so breathless. I was so tired. I didn't know that you had to, what I didn't know in the sense you hear about and read about how you push from here, you push from here, you don't push from your mouth, all of those technical things, but you don't actually know how to do it till the time really comes. And what was scary was to me that I was doing it right till I got so tired that they were like, okay, now you're pushing wrong. Now you're just wasting your energy. So they had to give me oxygen. Again, there was a heart rate issue in the middle, where his, there was a complication with his heart rate dropping. They made me rest in the middle. What was getting to me truly was that they had to tell me to start pushing and not pushing based on the contractions. But the urge to push never stopped for me. Even though there was no contraction and you should only push, obviously, during a contraction, I just felt like I wanted to keep pushing. That biological feeling, that urge, I just wanted to keep pushing. Mind you, the rectal pressure stayed with me throughout. It's not like the rectal pressure ever became less for me. I was just managing it better after that reset. And then during the pushing, it went up even more 10x.
But she was focused. She was focused on what she needed to do to get the baby out.
Yeah.
She was extremely focused, so she could. I would say. I mean, since I was there, I could say that she was blocking out every other aspect of it, every other thought of it. She wasn't letting her hope die, or she wasn't letting
the fear take over. I had this constant fear, this thought that I had based on the rectum pressure was that, oh my god, my ass is gonna explode. Like, that's how I'm gonna go. That's the thought I had in the morning during my monjolika period. I was just like, this pressure is so intense. I feel like it's gonna burst and I'm not gonna be able to make sense of this. I'm not gonna survive this. But at this point during this pushing, I feel like because I had that morning batch of pushing, I had some more semblance, not fully, but some more semblance. When they gave me oxygen, it really helped a lot. And I remember when the baby was coming down, and at some point they gave me pitocin somewhere, which helps bring the baby down or whatever. I don't even remember the technical details that much. But I remember very clearly the doctor saying to me a couple of times, do you feel like pushing even though there's no contraction? And I was like, yeah. And she was like, okay, so push. If you're feeling it, push. And usually the baby comes out when there is, when you're in a contraction, because you're pushing during a contraction. But I remember when Rafa's head actually came out, I was not in a contraction. I just really needed to push so hard. I had Gerry on my right, a bunch of nurses everywhere. And I knew that the second the baby comes out, my chachi had told me, because she lives in California, and like I said, she has 2 kids, Khalid and Zoya, who are 17 and 19, that the second the baby comes out, there will be an army of pediatricians and doctors, etc., that will come and take him. And in the corner, there was a little...
it was like a space shuttle.
No, it was the
lights.
Hot light, the baby, little mini, not an incubator, but like there's a hot, warm light. I don't know.
Again, monitor, wires. So it was like a spaceship.
I had Tasneem Chachi literally next to the doctor in perfect view. She was the first person, non-medical person from the family who saw Rafa, because she was like, I can see his head of hair. I had her with me throughout and she guided me through so many things so well. And it was just one of those things where the second I heard that she could see his hair, she called Gerry that side. She was like, see, and he was reluctant to leave my side. But then she was like, no, come. And then when I saw his expression, seeing his son for the first time. And that expression was enough for me to be like, okay, this is about to be like the final push. And I heard Tasneem Chachi saying, he's going to come out in the next push. And the doctor was like, in the next push, your son's going to be out. And I had, like, even now, I have goosebumps when I think of that moment, because it was like, it's about to just, everything culminates down to this moment.
Yeah.
And with the next push, he came out. And I was, the stupidest way to describe that feeling, of course, apart from the emotional, mental relief, is that it felt like this physical just release, you know, when you're like super constipated, like for 40 weeks, and you finally get it out. It just felt like, oh my God, he's here. And they removed him and they plonked him on my chest. And obviously I wanted Gerry to cut the umbilical cord, but when he came out, he didn't come out with a cry. He came out very blue. He came out very purple.
Yeah, so there was a bit of an issue. There was a bit of a breathing issue with him, which obviously kind of freaked me out, because I couldn't fully enjoy that moment of, you know, him coming out, him getting plonked on her chest, even though I managed to take a couple of
pictures
and videos and stuff like that. But I think they just plonked him on her chest.
I remember the doctor at that time cutting the umbilical cord, and I don't think I had fully processed that he was having a respiratory issue, like could have a respiratory issue. But I remember telling the doctor, I want him to cut the umbilical, and before I could say cord, she had cut it.
Because it was extremely critical for them to check him out, right? He wasn't crying. He was all blue and purple. So they clearly knew that he had a respiratory issue. They quickly moved him from her to the unit right.
Even on me,
right,
he was only for barely a minute.
Yeah.
They moved him from me to that unit, and as I was prepped for, the second he was out, even like as he was on me, there were some 12-15 doctors, nurses that came in specially for him. The minute they took him, and they took him on the side, and I remember when they picked him up is when my realization hit that he didn't cry. So I said, why isn't he crying? And I remember the doctor looking in that direction. Nobody answered anything to me. Nobody said anything out loud. And I could just sense that there was a lot happening. And it was when they took him there below the warm light and they rubbed him down, you know, for all the fluids and this and that, I heard the first cry. And I remember when that happened, I was already like at an incline. I went flat. I was like, okay, my job here for now seems done. What I didn't know, because I don't think I had processed completely, was that they were going to take him to the NICU. The NICU was on the same floor, thankfully.
Yeah, it was.
And they were going to check him for any respiratory issues, because
basically keep him under observation, because he still wasn't completely out of the woods. He still wasn't completely normal. He still wasn't breathing as he should have been breathing.
Coming out with a cry is one of the most like released lungs expansion, all of those.
So while she was now, I was torn between trying to figure out what's happening with him and trying to figure out whether she's okay or not okay. So I was kind of torn.
One of the standing instructions I had given Gerry all through this pregnancy was, when the baby comes out, if they take the baby anywhere, if anyone takes the baby anywhere, you will follow the baby. And one of the back and forth banters we had through the course of the pregnancy was, I will not leave the baby. I will be with you. Someone else will follow the baby.
I will not leave the baby.
I will not leave you. I will
not leave the baby.
I will, and at this point, I knew that once I was processing everything, I just needed him to go with the baby. I don't know whether you went immediately or whether you went a little bit later.
No, obviously I followed the baby.
You did?
Yeah. So they told me, obviously the pediatrician was there, the doctors were there. They told me very clearly that we need to move him to the NICU. We need to keep him under observation for a bit. But yes, you need to come with us so that you know exactly where he's kept or what's going on. So in fact, they did ask me to come along. So I went along. But the great thing, or the one of the good things that had happened, was even on the way they could feel that he was stabilizing.
Yeah.
He was breathing a little better, but obviously they needed to keep him under observation and stuff like that. So they wheeled him to the NICU. I saw where he was kept. I met the pediatrician. The pediatrician told me, come visit anytime that you want, but not between these hours, because that's when the shift changes, etc., etc. And you can come visit.
And they were promptly giving updates.
Yeah,
Like one
they were
of the
giving
great
updates.
things about the American healthcare system is that at no point, even with me or the baby, were they just doing anything on their own. They tell you everything. They read the label out to you. They tell you what it is. They give you why it is. They tell you what the alternate to it is. What happens if you don't take it. Like they are very detailed. I don't know whether it's because they get sued left, right, and center, or whether it's because they're just very careful.
Probably because of that, but it's a good thing because they give you all the relevant information possible, right? So the pediatrician told me that it'll take us about 4 to 5 hours to keep him under observation, and then we'll return him to the room.
And through those 4 to 5 hours, we kept getting intercomed in the room. This room that we are in is the first room that I had checked into the day before. My room was never changed. I delivered in that room. I stayed in that room. My 2 nights in the hospital after delivery were all in the room. They kept intercomming us and saying, okay, we're giving him this. Okay, we've given him this vitamin K shot. Okay, this is the other one. Are you okay with us administering this to him today, or would you rather wait for this tomorrow? Like they were keeping us in the loop on every step. And I couldn't go to the NICU because like my leg sensation only had not come back. But he kept making the rounds. My family
I
made
did
the
a couple
rounds.
of rounds just to check up on him whether he was doing okay.
He finally came back to me, I'm saying, because he was not in the room with me at that time. My chachi, everyone was taking turns coming to visit me. And it was, I want to say, about 5-ish hours later that he was sent back to the room when I was in the room, naturally with a couple of family visitors, and then Gerry came.
At that point in time, I still hadn't held him.
But you had seen him more than me because I had seen him for like, basically when they threw him on me, I had that minute, they cut the cord, they took him to the side, then they wrapped him up in the swaddle and they gave him back to me for another minute. And then they took him. But that was it. I feel like I hadn't even seen his face. I remember telling you when he was on me, turn him, I want to see his face. I want to see his face. I wanted to see what he looked like. I didn't know what he looked like properly because I was like, I was in this state of, I don't know how to explain, euphoria, bliss, but also there was panic. But I was like, okay, I'm exhausted, but now I'm worried, but I'm happy. Like there was a whirlwind of emotions and there was just so much going on. It was so difficult to process. But about 5.5 hours later was when he was given properly to me. And I remember like reaching for him and being like, we have a son.
Yes, we have a son.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so that was more or less it.
Yeah. I hope we didn't miss any details.
I don't think so, but
hope not.
No, we covered your monjolika period. We covered you wanting to marry the nurse. We covered you telling me that you absolutely hate me. We covered you
working through labor,
narrating your living will to me.
Working through labor. I'm proud of myself.
Working through labor.
Listen,
we covered you freaking out practiced medical professionals.
Stop it. I stayed in the hospital for 2 nights after. They did give me the option to stay just for 1 night, but then they said you may have to come back to the day anyway just to get a couple of checkups done. So I said it would just be easier. Also,
it was 1st of Jan, so some of the staff wasn't present.
He was born on 31st.
Yeah.
1st of Jan would have been our discharge.
Yeah.
And then we actually got discharged on 2nd of Jan.
So they did give us an option that you could get discharged in a day or stay for a couple of days more. We decided to stay for a couple of days more just to get everything done, get all his shots done and stuff like that. Because it was 1st of Jan, they were on, I think, a skeletal staff, if I'm not mistaken, which is why some of the stuff to get done, we had to get him back to the hospital, which we really didn't want to do.
Yeah.
So we decided to stay.
The reason this video has taken long to bring to you, by the way, he's almost 100 days old, is because we've actually shot this once before. In full disclosure, that once before, the baby was distracting us on the side. We also shot that video in the middle of an argument, so we missed a lot of details. We kept snapping at each other.
Yeah, but more than that, I had forgotten that I had taken notes. At the hospital.
Yeah.
So, and I found it while I was going through my notes, looking for some other document. I found it. I was like, wait, we have all these details which we haven't covered.
Snapping at each other because we were confused about who remembers what. Moral of the story, must not try and film a video with your husband in the middle of an argument, and must check if either of us has maintained notes on things. I'm so glad you had. I think that this is one of the toughest but one of the best things that my body has ever been able to do.
Mine too.
Such a bum. And I am just very grateful to have our little baby boy, our little miracle baby, our little rainbow baby who brings joy in our lives every single day. I think that, I don't know if you guys, if you watch my vlogs regularly, if you are subscribed to the channel and follow me on Instagram, which I truly hope you are, you may know that I was taken back to the ER literally 3 days after getting discharged from the hospital, which is a story for another video. This video is going to go on too long. If you want me to sit down and do a video about the 4th trimester, which is really about everything that goes on post-delivery, I'm happy to do that. But I just want to say in a nutshell, this is the best thing we've ever done. And I'm so grateful and feel so blessed that we have this little bundle of joy.
And if you guys have any questions about what we spoke about, anything that you guys feel that we might have missed out, do let us know in the comments. We'll try and address it as much as possible. And is there a secret word for this?
Ooh, you want to do secret word?
Yeah.
Look at you being YouTuber.
So the secret word for this video,
Monjolika. I knew it. I knew it. You're such an ass. The secret word for this video is a monjolika. Fine, I'll give that to him.
it's monjolika.
Thank you for watching. I love you. I hate you.
You absolutely hate me. That was the exact words.
I'll see you in the next one. Bye.
Bye.
Our son is going to watch this video when he's older. He's going to have a good laugh.
I know. Yeah, and if he does watch this video, the word that he's going to put in is monjolika.